guys. So, this is my first podcast, and this podcast is called World of Fiction, as you saw from the channel title. So, for this podcast, I'm gonna talk about all kinds of fiction, you know, in all different kinds of media like movies, shows, games, comics, anime. And we're also gonna talk about issues with certain types of fiction, like, movies that get way too many sequels or shows that get way too many seasons and stuff like that. And remember, everything that I say is my own opinion, so do not start an argument. Other people can have different opinions, and that's fine. Each episode will be a different topic, like new show or movie that came out, or a discussion about a certain type of fiction. This first episode will be about shows versus movies, and I'm just gonna compare them two. I'm not gonna say one's better than the other. And yeah, so let's get into the first episode. So, TV shows and movies. Nowadays, TV shows can have high quality now, especially after like COVID and stuff. Like streaming shows, there's so many of them, and but movies will still have higher budget because TV shows have to spread their budget out into multiple episodes. Like if a movie had like $100 million to work with, they only need to use it for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. But a TV show, depending on how many episodes it could have like 6 or 8. If there's like 8 episodes and they had to spread, like if they had a $100 million budget, they'd have to spread it into all 8 episodes. And if each episode is around 40 minutes, that's longer than a movie. So they'd have to spend their budget more wisely, and they can't have as good as effects and stuff. But TV shows, the good thing about them being longer is that they have more time to tell the story and develop characters and stuff. One of the problems with movies is that sometimes it's hard to care about the characters and stuff. Like if they're dying or something, you don't really care that much because you've only seen them for like an hour. But a TV show can have multiple seasons, multiple episodes. There's plenty of time to like make you actually care about the characters in the story. And a problem for both movies and TV shows, and I know it can't really be controlled, is that they both sometimes can take a very long time to develop, which means like if a season of a show came out that you really liked and it's over, then you have to wait like at least 2 years for the next season, and you just get older every season. Sometimes they take more than 2 years, which it's a problem because you're like, especially if they announce it ahead of time, like, oh, this is gonna come out in 2026 and it's 2024. Like, what? I have to wait 2 years for the next thing? I'm gonna die by then or something because you really enjoyed it. And it can't really be controlled because they take a long time to film. There's a lot of stuff to do, build entire sets, get all the actors together. Yeah, and movies nowadays, like a problem with movies is that they struggle to make their money back recently. Like, for example, Will Smith said this himself actually recently. It's harder to make a hit movie nowadays because there's so many things you can watch at home. Like, you can even watch movies at home. They are expensive though. If you try to watch a movie at home that's new, it costs like $20 to rent. But there are streaming movies and streaming shows, and they can be just as good as movies in the theaters. And some people don't want to go to theaters, so they just make less money now. Will Smith said that after the new Bad Boys movie that came out. He said, it's harder to make a hit, but that movie was successful, so it's good for him. Um, also, kids movies though, they're usually always gonna make their money back because they have a much bigger audience. Because parents will watch it, and then parents will bring their kids to watch it, and there's a lot of kids that want to watch movies, and kids, since they're so young, they don't really care like how good it is or not. They're just gonna watch it and enjoy it. They don't care about like writing or any stuff like that. They'll just watch it. Um, for example, like last year when Oppenheimer and Barbie came out at the same time, they Barbie ended up making more money than Oppenheimer did, even though, in my opinion, Oppenheimer was the better movie. But that's because Barbie was targeted towards a younger audience. So, like it is especially hard for like more mature movies or targeting an older audience to make money back. It's like a lot easier for kids movies. Like recently, Inside Out made like so much money, like over $1 billion with a $100 million budget. So they way past made their money back. Um, but then there's like movies like Fall Guy that came out like a couple months ago. It wasn't that successful because kids didn't really want to see that kind of movie, or parents didn't bring their kids to see that kind of movie because targeted toward an older audience. That's like, yeah. And then there's like those shows on cable TV. They're not as good as streaming shows, but they are very popular because most people have cable, so they just watch what's on TV, and they get like millions of viewers every episode because not everyone has streaming services, but most people have cable, and most of them are like crime shows with a new crime every single day, every single episode, and it's just I guess it's an entertaining thing to watch if you have nothing else to watch. Personally, I mean, obviously, like, streaming shows are a lot better, but I do watch a couple cable shows like the crime shows and stuff. Watch a couple, or comedy shows. The big thing about those is that they very like popularity based. So like if it's losing a little bit of viewers or stuff, they might cancel the show because it's less popular. Those types of shows tend to not have like plot stuff because they're just cable shows and they don't put that much effort into them. One of the favorite shows that was on cable is a show called Psych, because it had more than just crime to it. It had comedy, and all the characters were funny to watch. It was just like really funny, and I don't think I'd watch like a crime show that was just boring and didn't like wasn't funny. So I don't watch the other ones, but that one, it's really funny, and it has 8 seasons. If you want to check it out, then you should. If you're interested in crime shows that have comedy and funny characters, good characters, then you'll definitely enjoy that. Then there's also the comedy cable shows. Watching a few of them, they are funny, but again, they don't like have any story or anything. It's just them. They usually have like 1 or 2 conflicts every episode, and then they solve them by the end. That's typically the whole structure of those kinds of shows. They do have like certain things that they keep, like if a character gets pregnant or something, they'll have that storyline going on for the whole season. Usually every episode has its own subplot, and then the whole season has like a one overarching main plot. That's actually that it goes for every like cable show. You know, there are like some crime shows, or like a lot of them. They will have a crime every single episode, but then they'll also have one that's going on through the whole season on, and they'll just have the crimes every episode as the side plot, because your story should have a main plot, but it should also have like things on the side too to make it more interesting. um, the thing with crime shows usually is that the characters themselves aren't that interesting, so when you're watching them solve crimes, it's like um, it's not that interesting. That's why I like shows that add the comedy part to the crime. It's like makes it more interesting because you're laughing while they're solving the crimes. The show Psych didn't take itself very seriously, and they did a lot of like gag episodes. They like one episode was making fun of the one episode was making fun of The Shining, because one of the guys went crazy and he literally used an axe on the door, and then the other guy was screaming just like in that scene from The Shining where he's breaking the door. Yeah, there was like a lot of gag episodes like that, and for a show that doesn't take itself seriously, it's gag episodes will be funny. And they also did like a gag episode of the, it was like similar to The Hangover, which was like the best episode. It's like the highest rated episode. They all woke up not knowing what they were doing, and if you know what The Hangover is, it is very funny. Obviously, it's the plot is lacking and stuff, but it's mostly just supposed to be like outrageous comedy and stuff. And usually those types of things aren't rated very well because it's just over the top, but they're still they're still enjoyable just to be just to laugh at. There is 3 Hangover movies, so they literally like pass out, and then every single movie was, oh, they woke up and they have no idea where they are or what they did the night before. And there was a lion inside of the the hotel that they were staying at. It's just really funny. Yeah, so cable shows, they're not as good as streaming shows, but they do have some good things to them. Like they're still enjoyable to watch, just not as good as streaming shows. Because again, well, for me personally, the streaming shows usually have a plot and stuff, and I enjoy that more. Like the one of the most popular ones that came out recently, the Fallout show, is really good adaptation. The next episode, the topic will be about adaptation, so I'm not gonna go into that too much right now. But it was a really good show. It only had 8 episodes, and they did have to spread out the budget between each episode. But I mean, you could tell in some scenes that they like reused areas for each episode, but it was still really good nonetheless. And that's why movies have a harder time making a hit movie, because shows are really good now, like streaming ones, and people don't want to go out to theaters as much because of that. So movies, streaming shows, cable shows, they all are entertaining. One is not better than the other. Just comparing all 3. And yeah, that's gonna be the end of the episode. The next one will be about story adaptations. So like The Last of Us show which adapted the game, and there's a lot of bad adaptations, but recently there have been a lot of good ones, and that will be the topic for the next one. Definitely excited to talk about that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. I hope you like this one. It's my first one, so it's definitely not gonna be the greatest, but it'll improve over time. And yeah, bye.